Good evening, students. My name is Ajan John, and tonight I am going to answer the essay question printed below. The essay question is about the effect multinational companies have upon our lives. Let me remind you, if you are listening to this on YouTube, you can click on subtitles or transcript and you should be able to see a fairly accurate presentation of the text for this talk. So look at the essay question and give it a bit of thought yourself first. How would you answer this question? Following my recommended strategy, what we are going to try to do is to find one main idea and one main example which will be the heart of the essay. Paragraph 2. We want to look for the simplest way to answer the question, and this should allow us to demonstrate a high quality of English vocabulary and grammar. So what would you think about as a main idea to answer this essay question? What occurs to me is fast food. There are many multinational food companies such as McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, which can affect our lives in many ways. So I'm going to use fast food restaurants as the main idea, and the example I'm going to talk about is my old school. This should become clear as I talk you through the essay. So let's start with the introductory paragraph. What we have to do in the introduction is to describe the topic, which is multinational companies. So this is what I am going to do now. This is a model answer for the first paragraph. If I go to my local supermarket or department store to buy something, there is a very good chance that the product I buy may have been produced by an international organization. Electronics giants like Sony, for example, provide us with almost every kind of electrical device which we may want. And if we're looking to buy soap or shampoo or detergent, these items may well have been manufactured and distributed by giant companies based in Europe or America. It is clear that these enormous companies have a great deal of economic power and affect our behavior in ways which we may not always be aware of or understand. Sometimes this can be positive, sometimes it can be negative. So that should be sufficient for the first paragraph. So now let's move on to the second paragraph, which is going to be the main part of the essay. One of the really disastrous ways in which multinational companies are affecting our lives is in the area of eating. Nowadays, fast food restaurants are everywhere. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. It sometimes seems like they are on every corner, tempting us with fatty food and big, garish pictures of hamburgers and greasy French fries. Garish, G-A-R-I-S-H. A few weeks ago, I paid a visit to my old high school, and when I got there, I was shocked to see just across the road from the school gates a big, glossy, colourful McDonald's restaurant. Glossy, colourful. I took a seat inside for a few minutes while I thought nostalgically about my high school days. I had only been sitting a few minutes and had barely finished my coffee, barely, B-A-R-E-L-Y, when the school gates burst open and a flood of young, hungry students poured out into the street, poured out, P-O-U-R-E-D, into the street and raced across the road to where I was sitting. Raced, R-A-C-E-D. The young students stampeded, S-T-A-M-P-E-D-E-D, stampeded into the restaurant, ordering fat, juicy beef burgers, enormous milkshakes, and fatty ice cream. I couldn't help but notice that the children looked far bigger than they were when I was at that school. In fact, some of them looked like baby elephants. Believe me, I am not exaggerating. It was not difficult to believe that they may have been eating this high-fat fast food every day. Clearly, the change in our eating habits to become far less healthy is a serious and worrying issue, and we should be concerned about the power of such large companies, because they can raise the obesity in a whole generation. Okay, that should be okay for the second paragraph. As you can see, I have used the past perfect tense and given a very descriptive example talking about my old school. This kind of answer is going to get you very high marks. We have only used one simple idea to answer the question, fast food restaurants, and by doing this you can see, or you should be able to see, that you can demonstrate a far higher level of English. If you're trying to give a more sophisticated answer, perhaps analyzing the bad effects of international companies in a more complex way, you're less likely to be able to produce good English. You're going to spend too much time thinking about how to explain these complicated areas. So don't do that. Please don't do that. Just use one simple idea. Let's move on now to the third paragraph. Much less important than the second paragraph, but we have to show the opposite point of view to a small extent. Here I'm going to talk about the advantages, one advantage of big companies. However, we cannot deny that these enormous companies sometimes have the ability to greatly improve our lives. In the area of technology, for example, these massive organizations have an enormous budget at their disposal to spend on researching new technology. Without the economic might, M-I-G-H-T, without the economic might of these companies, we might still be in the Stone Age in terms of technology. In the Stone Age in terms of technology. That's enough for the third paragraph. In this essay, we are mainly arguing that international companies have a negative effect on our lives. Don't worry whether the essay seems to be realistic or not. We're not writing a book or a PhD thesis. We are just writing a English essay with maybe only 300 words or so. So nobody is expecting you to give a thorough and detailed answer to the essay question. They're just looking to see if you have good English. So now look at the conclusion, the last paragraph. which need only be one sentence, and as I always recommend, should be more or less neutral. In conclusion, we can clearly see that international organizations can control our lives in sometimes very negative ways. However, we cannot deny that they can also bring us enormous benefits. Perhaps it is the job of the consumer to take responsibility for making good choices in their purchases. Okay, that should be enough. That should now be an essay which should get the top marks in both IELTS or TOEFL. And I hope you have understood my basic strategy, which is to choose one simple idea as the crux of the essay. The crux of the essay, CRUX. Okay, thank you for listening and good luck with your next assignment.